Kitakubu.
What's up everyone, KitaSean here. So you guys have been asking me to make some more spotlight videos for servants that release in the JP version of Fate Grand Order, so here we are. In this spotlight video we'll be focusing on Super Orion, or Orion, however you want to pronounce his name. He first appeared in Lost Belt Chapter 5 Part 1, Atlantis. If you guys have a servant you guys want me to do a spotlight on, just comment down below, but let's just focus on Super Orion for now. So Super Orion is a limited 5-star archer servant who can deal a ton of damage. Starting with his stats, his max attack is 12,557 and HP is 13,494. MP gain on attack is 0.96, star weight is 153, and rate is 8%. So let's go ahead and get into his skills. His first skill is Strong Arms of Brutality B+, increases his own Buster card and applies special attack towards wild beasts and demonic traded enemies for 1 turn. At level 1 it's already at 30%, but at level 10 it's 50%. 30% already does a good amount of damage, but 50% you already know he is going to do some damage. His second skill is Pressure of the Moon Goddess EX, and this skill allows him survivability, basically gives him guts, gives him an attack increase, and gain critical stars. Third skill is Bowman of the TriStar A+, and this allows him to increase his critical star gather rate for 3 turns, increase his critical strength, and his Buster card attacks will do a bunch of damage for 3 times 3 turns. Just by looking at his skills, you already know he will be a crit buster monster, but his Noble Phantasm makes him even scarier. But before we get into his Noble Phantasm, let's check out his class skills. Independent Action EX for 12% more crit strength, Blessing of the Sea God B to apply more damage and debuff resist, and his third one, Curse of the Heavenly Scorpion D, is a demerit, so that you want to kind of ignore. Now his Noble Phantasm, it's not an attack type Noble Phantasm, it's actually a self buff Noble Phantasm. So his Noble Phantasm is an arts type self-buff Noble Phantasm that gives him Ignore Invincibility, Increased Attack, Critical Strength, Gain Critical Stars, and Nullify debuff for 3 turns. So once again, he is a crit buff monster. I'm sure some of you guys are wondering how Orion is able to deal all the damage when his Noble Phantasm is a self-buff. Well, it's with his command cards, especially his Buster cards. So his Buster cards will be able to deal single target MP level damage, or maybe even more. So if you get all 3 Buster cards set up within the next 3 turns after you use his Noble Phantasm, he will do some nasty damage. I'm sure you guys are wondering what skills I should level up first. Balance it out. So let's go ahead and look at his command cards real quick. 1 quick, 1 arch, 3 busters. Both quick and arch do 3 hits. Buster does 1 hit. His arch card actually is pretty good when it comes to MP gain performance. His buster cards are very aggressive, so that makes sense. I do recommend using CEs that can help gain more MP gauge and rely on supports to give MP, but probably the CE parts you want to mainly focus on buster up or crit damage, which we'll talk about in a bit, but definitely bring servants that can help support when it comes to MP gain. But let's go ahead and talk about the party setup right now. The first servant you better think of that's great for Orion is going to be Merlin. I mean, great for buster up, stars, MP gain, heal. What can't Merlin do for Orion? Hans, obviously for the crit damage. You can use Elmaloid as well. I mean, he's an overall great support. But basically use support that can give buster or crit up for Orion. Now, another fun servant to use in the Orion setup is going to be Swimsuit BB, because she has the ability to lock command cards. So once you see 3 Orion buster cards, lock them up and do crazy damage for the next 3 turns. Another servant that's really fun to use is going to be this person. So let's go ahead and talk about CEs for Super Orion. And of course, I think the best CEs to put on Super Orion are anything that increases Buster or crit strength. Limited 0 over to focus on Buster, Victor of the Moon to focus on both Buster and crit, Moonlight Fest to increase crit gather and strength, plus it has Artemis on it, so I mean, why not? And Beautiful Dreamer is also a good one, and it helps with some MP gauge as well. I mean, you can think of putting CEs that increase MP gauge at the start of the battle, but personally for me, I think putting CEs that increase Buster up or crit strength is the way to go. So the best command codes to equip on his command cards are once again increase Buster, crit strength, or even gain stars. Polar Lights of the Holy Knight to gain crit stars, Command Spells of the Crimson Jewel, and Heart Retainer for crit strength, Crest of Humanity for the star drop rate, and more recent codes are Mistress of Heaven for 25% more critical strength when you equip it on a buster card, and Scales of the Universe to deal more damage towards saber classes. So once again, Super Orion is a crit buster archer monster. Just by himself he can do a lot of damage, but again, pair him up with the servants who can provide support for buster and crit strengths. Same for the CEs and codes, maybe even increase his buster card damage with the faux paws and do some MP level damage with his buster cards. Well, that's basically about it for Super Orion. He is such a fun character to play with. His character in general is awesome. It's unfortunate that he is limited, so we don't know when the next time he will come back as a rate up, but I think he is a great servant to roll for if you are in need of a single target archer. Once again, if you guys have a servant you want me to do a spotlight video on, just comment down below and I will see you guys in the next one. Laters.